Well, hello, everyone. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Welcome to another one of our webinars on online MBA programming. We have a spectacular panel right now. You may or may not know that today U.S. News came out with its newest online MBA ranking. 3 of the top 5 programs are represented here, and the 4th is so new it can't be ranked yet. So you're going to hear from the creme de la creme of the players in the online MBA space. We're going to talk a little bit about finding the right fit and exploring the student experience online. Let me introduce our panelists. We have Kara Adams, who's Associate Director of MBA Admissions and Student Recruitment at UNC's Kenan-Flagler Business School. Kenan-Flagler has been in the game for a good amount of time with MBA at UNC, which is the name of its MBA program. We have a relative newcomer. Actually, they graduated the first class in December at Purdue University's Krannert School. And representing Krannert is Dilip Chajik, who's Associate Dean of Online Programs and Strategic Initiatives. Welcome. We have a couple of people who are very familiar to me and to our viewers, I'm sure. The University of Florida, we have Naz Erengek, who's Director of Admissions and represents several of their online MBA options. They have very flexible programs that we're going to hear a lot about. And then we have Sarah Wenger, who is Executive Director of Kelley Direct Programs at the University of Indiana. I'm having a little mind melt there. At Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana. Welcome, Sarah. In fact, I was just watching your 15-minute video earlier this morning on all your different MS programs and how they differ from each other. And how that all work together if you want to take a dual degree with your MBA and a master's in business analytics or some of the other subjects that you have in your portfolio. So welcome. Let's talk a little bit about each of your programs, how long they've been around, how long it takes to complete, and give us a sense for how you think that program might be different in one way or another. I think we have 4 significantly different programs in many ways, different approaches, different formats, different bells and whistles that are attached to each of the programs and different emphasis in terms of maybe some concentrations and elective offerings. Naz, let's start with you at Florida.
Perfect. Thank you, John. And thank you so much for having me here today. It's so great to see you again. And I guess Happy New Year. I guess we can still say that. I don't know. So a little bit about the University of Florida and Warrington College of Business. So we offer 2 types of online MBA programs. One that's open to any undergraduate major. So regardless of whether you come from an engineering or a liberal arts background, you would be able to do one of our, what we call our catch-all 2-year online MBA program. It's 24 months from start to finish. We have 3 intakes per year, and the average weekly time commitment is going to be about 15 to 20 hours a week. So it has been designed for that busy working professional. Now, we also are a unique program in that we offer an accelerated MBA, online MBA program for those who already have a business degree within the last 7 years. So they don't have to repeat any of those core business classes. And so it's an accelerated 32 credit hour 16-month program, and it also starts 3 times a year. So we've been actually able to offer these programs, since actually 1999. So we were one of the pioneers in establishing our online program. And today we have actually, I just pulled the numbers, 578 enrolled online students. And we're super excited that we'll be bringing in a new group of about 70 this upcoming Friday.
Right, a good sized program that's been around for a while. I'm sure over those years there have been many refinements and improvements in the program and many refreshes. Kara, UNC, tell us about your program.
Sure. So Our online program, MBA at UNC, has been around for over 10 years. We really like to think about it as having the exact same MBA that you would get if you came to campus in one of our other working professional formats, but maybe are unable to move to North Carolina and do one of those programs. So really, you have the same opportunities for career and leadership. Electives, concentrations are a little bit different, but overall, really making sure that everybody walks away with the same MBA degree in hand, regardless of the format that you're looking to do. And then our program is typically around 24 months. Most students take that amount of time to finish, but you can finish in as little as 18 or take as long as 36 months. The big differentiator for us is the required class time that you have to attend via Zoom. So there are mandatory sessions every week for 90 minutes per class, about 18 people per class total, including the faculty member. So you still have that high touch point with faculty, the networking opportunities, which I'm sure we'll touch on later, John. But really, again, being able to walk away with the same MBA, but being able to do it online.
Right. And one feature of your program, I know, are these weekend immersions here and there. I've attended one or two of them in Silicon Valley. In fact, one I attended, the CEO of 2U is there. And 2U is a partner that helps market your program.
Correct.
Yep. So Sarah, how about Kelley?
Sure. Thanks for having me, John. Good to see you again. So the Kelley School of Business has offered our online MBA. It's called the Kelley Direct Online MBA since 1999. I think we came in right at the same time that Florida did. So Naz and I are in the same boat there. Our program is a 54 credit program, and it takes just a little over 2 years to complete, although students do have some flexibility with how long they decide to be in the program. You can stretch out the program and take all the way up to 4 years to do the program. But again, most of our students take just a little over 2 years to do it. One of the, I think, special aspects of our program, we are considered a hybrid online MBA. So we do incorporate both the live class sessions that Kara was referring to, like UNC has, and then we also have an in-residence experience at the beginning of the program called Kelley on Campus, as well as an in-residence towards the second year of the program called Kelley on Location. And so the Kelley on Campus is held here in Bloomington, Indiana. It is working with a live client, and it is a case competition. You do that at the beginning of your program, and then again, Kelley on Location in the second year, working with a live client at the city where that client is based. So we are kind of changing up our, we used to do a Kelley Connect Week only in Bloomington, and you had 2 of those, but we want to make sure that we get you off site for that as well as our usual global and domestic immersion options within the program. And then one of the differentiators, like you had asked about, John, is really that our program incorporates majors. That's something that is pretty unique to an online MBA program, where you can choose to do a dual degree still, per usual. That's many of the other schools offer dual degrees, but within the actual MBA, you can choose to major in an area such as finance or business analytics or marketing. We have very particular majors. We have 7 options there, and you can really hone in, or you can just do the MBA and get a general management focus. So that's one of the nice things about our program. We offer the flexibility of being able to do a major within the 54 credit online MBA, or you can add that dual degree for additional credits on top of the MBA, but you can just major within it.
And what percentage of the 54 credits are taken up by electives?
Oh, great question. Half of our program. So half of our program is elective based, and the other half is our core coursework and business foundations courses. So our students have found a lot of flexibility in the Kelley Direct program, because you do have that option to really be able to customize and take the courses that you either want to take within your major, or that you can just design kind of all sorts of different courses. So you want a general management focus, and you want your half of your program to be electives in finance and business analytics and entrepreneurship and innovation. So you can really kind of hone in on lots of different areas and not necessarily have to choose a major or a dual degree.
Right, great. Now, Donald, your program is a new kid on the block, at least among the 4 programs that we're featuring here today. And you entered your first cohort, I believe, in early 2020. You had your first graduation in December of last year. What did you learn about the market, and what was the approach that Purdue is taking? Obviously, your university has an incredible reputation in the field of engineering, and I'm sure that a good number of that first cohort had engineering backgrounds.
Yeah, thanks, John. This is my first time in this panel, so I'm happy to participate here. So indeed, I think I'm actually so excited to be part of Purdue, because I actually graduated from Purdue. So to me, it is back to Purdue doing this job. And I think right from the beginning, the question of how do we differentiate our program from others that are represented here has been there. And as you mentioned, Purdue is a STEM-focused institute. So that is what comes to the mind as the first differentiator. So in our program, which is 48 credit hours, you can take up to 10 credit hours per semester, and there are 3 semesters and 3 intake. Now you can finish the program in as little as 20 months. But I think at least based upon the first 3 cohorts that we can project, 90% of them will finish within 7 to 8 semesters. Okay. So again, the flexibility is important in all online programs. You want them to take the courses at their own pace. So maybe 1 to 2 courses every module. So nice and easy pace. It also, I think, makes the learning much more effective when you are focusing on few things rather than too many. So coming back to what we specialize in, so we don't have a dozen specializations right now, being a very new program. I think we started with 4 specializations, and these are optional. I mean, you don't have to do a specialization, but these are business analytics, innovation and technology, commercialization, global supply chain management, and then leadership, negotiation, and change management. We also have courses that are coming from across the campus. So we are taking advantage of our engineering faculty from other areas. So there are a few courses that are taught by people from other areas. We're also bringing in these Frontiers series of courses. So these are 1 credit courses, which are sort of curated by a faculty with specialists from anywhere. They could be alums, they could be faculty from engineering, or they could be just somebody from industry. Okay? So these are some of the things we are doing. Again, we also have the option of doing dual degree, or you can earn a certificate as part of your MBA, or opt to take a second degree. Also, I think we're making it easier for students. They come for degree A, and then they decide that, hey, for me, it is better to do degree B. Now, for example, we just had a student who came for MBA and then decided that we just want to get an MS in business analytics. Okay? Shorter, much more focused. That is their current career focus. Okay? So we allow that kind of switching between programs. There is commonality of courses. All the electives are available to students in every program. Okay? So I think that makes it much more easier for students to switch to take a variety of courses. And I think flexibility is a key attribute. So our program is, we have synchronous sessions, but these synchronous sessions are not required. They are recorded. A student can watch it at their own pace. But you don't have to be present. At the same time, they have opportunity to interact with the faculty if they want. Okay.
Great. Let's talk a little bit about fit. You know, everyone often talks about fit. It's such an intangible thing, or it can be. And when I think about fit, in a traditional college experience, I think it's easier to assess it because you go to campus, you might spend some time on the campus touring, meeting students, maybe even sitting in a classroom, and you can get a better feel for whether or not you think you belong there. But in an online program, how does a person assess fit? Kara, why don't you take a swing at that?
Sure. So I think it's important to figure out what works for you from a scheduling perspective, certainly. What way do you learn best? Do you need those mandatory kind of in-person sessions? Do you prefer to work kind of more on your own and more independently, and you're kind of wanting to go about this program without a whole lot of teamwork aspects? I know all of our programs, I'm sure, have some teamwork component that's, tremendous within the MBA portfolio, but it really just depends on which way do you learn best. I think that helps you kind of funnel kind of what your choices are going to be, and then really what works best for your schedule. Certain programs are going to require you to have to maybe leave work early, maybe take days off work, maybe, of course, attend night sessions. So then working with your partner, your family, your employer, everybody to make sure they're on board. And then a big piece for us too are your career goals. What are you currently doing? And then short-term and long-term, what do you hope to accomplish? Because in that conversation, it's important that we guide you as admissions staff to the right program that's going to be a best fit for you. As I touched on earlier, we have career and leadership as a huge part of our online program. But if you're wanting to pivot into something, say you come from a marketing background and you want to pivot into investment banking or work for a top consulting firm, then we may suggest that you look at a full-time program, because you're going to need to do internships, because they're looking at test scores more closely. You're really going to need some more face-to-face contact. So it's important as part of our process as we try to figure out what program is the best fit for you overall, that we also help align with your goals, because we certainly don't want someone who is looking to make a pivot to get too far into a program and then realize it's going to be a little bit difficult to do that. We do have students that pivot, but I would say it's a bigger lift on their part, to be fully transparent, because you're in that virtual environment. It is about making connections and really doing different things a little bit differently, because you don't have the same face-to-face interactions with employers. We do, during those summits, have employers come to campus, but of course, again, it looks very different from full-time programs. So I think it's really, again, going back, making sure that you figure out what way you learn best, flexibility wise, what kind of works best for your schedule, and then certainly what are your goals throughout the MBA and then post MBA.
Right. I think, one other obvious part of fit is, does the school have depth in an area that you're interested in? So both Sarah and Dala mentioned some of their concentrations. At UNC, are there concentrations as well?
Absolutely, yes. So we have 5 different concentrations. You aren't required to do them, but some students do choose to do them. So a lot of our students, maybe say, again, using marketing as an example, you've been in marketing, you think it's what you want to do for the rest of your life, but you've really not had exposure to anything else. So a lot of our students will also take a bunch of different electives in different areas to either check the box and say, I love marketing, it's my true passion, I want to continue this route. Or they may say, actually, I really love consulting or operations or something different. And it allows them to get that exposure, to talk to their manager, to see what other opportunities are available before making a big career pivot into something that maybe then they realize they're not really that interested in.
Right, exactly. Naz, do you have perspective on fit?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, that's a great for the listeners thinking about, what type of MBA experience do you want to have? We all offer a program that obviously is flexible by nature, but what does that flexibility mean? Some of us here have asynchronous learning, some of us have synchronous learning. Here at the University of Florida, our MBA program is an asynchronous model. And so if that's something that appeals to you, being able to log on at 5 a.m. or 5 p.m. or weekend to watch your lectures, I think part of that fit is what works best with your schedule. And in fact, I'm super happy, I don't know, also to put this plug out there, that we were ranked #1 best online MBA for veterans. And that's because we have so many veterans enrolled. It doesn't matter what time zone you're in, or at what point you want to absorb that content. So having that flexibility. So I say, finding a fit based off of what makes sense for your lifestyle. Also finding a program that I think, our program, we have a strength in bringing in a cohort that maybe we don't offer those specializations, but what we can ensure is that when you enroll in the program, you know exactly what you're taking from start to finish with your cohort members. So we have a very high graduation and retention rate. And what that also means is that in addition to having this cohort of peers that you get to know really well, we require students to come to campus for orientation. So you get to physically meet all of your cohort mates. But we also focus a lot on co-curricular. So as a prospective MBA, think about beyond the classroom experiences that can be meaningful to you. You know, does that mean networking events? Does that mean coming to Gainesville for tailgating events? Does it mean, you know, being a part of the career seeking process with a dedicated career coach that's going to help you meet your goals? And we're proud that we have our own in-house career coaches, that's not something that's outsourced. And so all of our students have access to our professional development opportunities. We also, you know, offer a lot of certificates. If you want to learn more about Excel training or Lean Six Sigma, these are things that we offer in collaboration with our College of Engineering. And so, you know, even though we have a regimented program that maybe doesn't offer the concentrations or specializations, our overarching focus is in leadership and management to build our students to be ready for those C-suite positions. And in doing so, we're still able to do so while offering the same degree with the same professional development, with the same networking opportunities, and of course, access to the swamp.
Now, Naz, you use two very big words that all of us are very familiar with, but some members of our audience coming to this fresh may not really know what it means. Asynchronous learning versus synchronous learning. Now, yours is 100% asynchronous. What does that actually mean?
Yeah, great question, John. So that means that all of your lectures are pre-recorded. So the faculty, before the start of the semester, they go into our recording studio, they record their lectures, and then they upload them to our course website. So you're able to kind of pace out what you're watching and when you're watching your content. The faculty will give you pretty strict guidelines as to what should be completed and when, and you're still going to have a lot of interaction with your teammates. In fact, you know, to Kara's point, 50% of the deliverables will be team-based, but the asynchronous nature really boils down to how are you watching your lectures? Are they live where everybody has to be logged on at the same time to view them? Or have they been pre-recorded so you're able to kind of pace out when you're watching those? So if you're looking for that utmost level of flexibility, sometimes having that asynchronous format can be a little bit more inviting to that.
Right. Now, Sarah, you have asynchronous and synchronous. Can you break it down in percentage terms over the course of the program, what that looks like?
Sure. So I guess over the course of the program, that's a little bit tricky because of our in-residences. Of course, our in-residence experience also are counted as synchronous since you're here on campus getting that content together. So I would say probably we're about a 60-40. You're going to push my brain on this one if I'm going to incorporate everything for the full program because the asynchronous and synchronous content you're getting in every course. For every course, you're going to have an hour and 15 minutes of live content weekly per course. And then you're also going to have asynchronous content that you need to do. So we have a little bit of a flipped classroom model. So I know Naz was referring to kind of watching lectures kind of on your own time. We do have that. You do watch lectures and things like that on your own time that are more asynchronous based. And then in those weekly live sessions, you're really doing very team-based projects, group work, you're going to do large group discussion. It's really a facilitated session with your faculty member. So your same Kelley School Business faculty member who teaches, you know, all of your courses within the Kelley School, they teach in our full-time MBA program. They also teach those live session times. So you're not going to see you know, adjuncts or people not affiliated with the school or anything like that. You're going to actually see your Kelley School Business faculty member in all of those live sessions, facilitating the discussions, facilitating when you're working on casework, facilitating any of our, we do some case competitions right within our courses. So you'll have kind of mini case competitions there with both live clients and also case clients. So there are lots of opportunities to be doing both synchronous and asynchronous work in Kelley Direct. But going back to the whole fit question, we really do push applicants on what exactly are you looking for? If you need a program where you can be just watching lectures on your commute to and from work every day, and that's going to be what will fit best into your schedule, then we are not the program for you. And we actually suggest that you go to somewhere like Florida, where you can do a whole program asynchronously. Our program is really built on the core concept of including that synchronous work where you are expected to come to live sessions. Now, all of our students are working adults. We know that things are going to come up and you can't always come to the live session, so we record those. But for the most part, we have probably, I'd say 97% attendance at live sessions because students come to our program specifically looking for that interaction weekly.
Right. And Dalip, you have a mix of synchronous and asynchronous learning as well?
Yes. Yeah, I think we are more similar to Florida than Indiana. Our synchronous are optional. They do add to what the faculty has already recorded and released 2 weeks ahead of time. But those things are, because the synchronous sessions are also recorded, you can watch them later. They're not required part of the program, but they do give you a chance to interact with other students, to interact with the faculty, to ask clarification questions, and sometimes to also learn new things. I mean, when I taught my course, about 50% of the students would attend the synchronous sessions. Okay, but there were some students who were there at every session, and there were some who were not there at all. Okay, and that's okay. I think that's what we want to provide, that flexibility to the students. But I also want to come back to the question of how do you find the right fit?
Right.
And I'm going to ask the students who are watching this to consider just 3 questions. First is who, right? Who is offering the program? And I think we are all very comparable in that respect, the reputation of the university, how long we have been there, right? Whether we are a top research-focused institute or not. But then you look at what, which is the curriculum, the coursework, the electives, whether they are experiential learning activities, how challenging is the program, right? I mean, do you want to go to a program which is easy, you get easy A's, or do you come to a program which challenges you, right? Which actually forces you to do, take that extra mile. I mean, why are you doing the program, right? If it is not to challenge yourself, to learn new things. So I think you want to look at programs which is pushing you, because the reason why you want to do the program, in my view, is to develop your potential. Right? I mean, certainly you want to have a higher salary, you want to have a career path, but eventually so the average age in the program is 30, 35 years. You have another 40 years of career ahead of you, right? No, we are working till 80 years, 70 years. Things are going to change in those 40 years a lot. Okay? How are you going to be ready for that, right? Okay? And that is what the MBA program is giving. So if you're coming to a program to learn new things, to push yourself, to expand your horizon, I think look at a program which is tough. Okay? And at Krannert, we follow a Krannert curve. Actually, you can't give all A's to our students. Faculty cannot do that. So I think that is part I like. So who, what, and then how. So how is the structure? We talked about this synchronous, asynchronous time with the faculty. But I think in the how, I will also include all the support activities, which is especially important in an online program. So we have an academic advisor who is helping you choose courses. We have a success coach who is watching you while you are in the coursework, right? To make sure that you're not falling behind. Stuff happens, right? At work, in family, sure. And suddenly you have not submitted 3 assignments. So the success coach will actually come back to you and make sure that, if there is something going on, they can connect you to the faculty. So they are there to make sure that you succeed in the courses you are currently enrolled. And then we have the career coaches. So the career coaches are giving you advice on career advancement, on the career coaching part of it. Okay, so we have full-time dedicated people assigned to online programs. Okay, so they specialize in this, even though everybody is working, but they can still benefit from this career coaching part. So I think there's these intangibles that come in an online program, which are very important, and they have to be considered as you are making that decision.
Right. No, those are all very good points. Now, Kara, earlier discussing fit, you led me to believe that if you want to do a career switch, you're probably better suited in a full-time MBA program where you get a summer internship that helps line you up for certain jobs that actually are an internship is required for, particularly in consulting and investment banking, for example. But I also sense that there are greater numbers of people today than ever before who are going into online MBA programs, still wanting to do a career switch instead of merely enhancing or accelerating the career in their current company or the current industry. So I wonder if you're seeing that trend as well at UNC, and how UNC is trying to meet that trend without, the traditional aspects of a full-time MBA program where you do get the internship and where recruiters are coming on campus specifically to interview students for jobs.
Yeah, absolutely. So I will say the biggest pivot that we would push students to a full-time program is certainly investment banking and then a top consulting firm, unless they have some consulting experience. It's really just if they're wanting to get their foot in the door there, understanding, it's a completely different process. They're looking at a lot of different items that we don't look at because most of our students have 10 years of work experience. So they're not taking the GMAT, the GRE, maybe their undergraduate GPA wasn't very high. And so that's why we tend to push towards a full-time program, because they're looking at those particular items in those industries. That being said, we also have dedicated career coaches. So you can meet with your career coach as little or as often as you want to. Obviously it's via Zoom, but they are also there during our summits where you can meet with them face to face. And they're there to talk about any and everything, salary negotiations, interview prep. Again, if you do want to make a pivot, because we have seen a significant increase in that, especially with COVID, I think people are taking the opportunity while they're at home to kind of assess, are they really passionate about their job? What do they really want to do? And so they are looking at making pivots into other areas. We do have career activities. So we'll have networking events via Zoom currently, where we'll have different employers in different breakout rooms, and you can go and talk to them about opportunities. A lot of those are less, I would say, resume passing, even sending via email initially, because again, most people have the work experience. So it's more of business contacts, connecting on LinkedIn, that sort of thing. And then certainly partaking in networking opportunities with current students and alums in all of Kenan-Flagler. So really making, being intentional about connecting with people who are in the industry that you want to be in, who are working for the company that you want to work for. We say that we have alums and current students who work in every company and every industry you can imagine. And it's really important that you connect with someone to see, what is the culture like at that company? What does the trajectory look like? The grass isn't always greener. And sometimes it's nice to make those connections, because that may be your dream company because of things you've heard. But once you get some additional intel from someone who works there, then you get a little bit more insight, and you can kind of balance off the trade of switching industry, staying with your current industry. But I would say that's a big reason students come back to get their MBA, is to obviously either make it to a C-suite level position or pivot into something else. And then of course the leadership aspect. So career coaching is just a big, big part of that. You also get lifelong career coaching with our programs. So maybe you're not ready to tackle on a new job while doing your MBA. A lot of students come back post-MBA and they're like, okay, now that I've got that time back again, I'm really ready to talk about my options and make a pivot.
Right. Now, Naz, I've heard many stories of students in online programs actually landing new jobs with different employers, even in different industries, by virtue of the connections that they make in an online program. Is that true, or is that a myth?
No, that's absolutely true. I mean, think about it. Not only do you have access to your career coaches, but now you have 70 new best friends to help broaden your network, coupled with the larger group of, 1,000 or so enrolled MBA students in our program. And then even go above and beyond that, all of the UF alums that we have, over 12,000 kind of globally. I think that similar to kind of what Kara was talking about, we have about a third split. A third of our students are looking for new opportunities, a third are looking to grow within their organizations, and a third are just along for the ride to figure out if and when those opportunities arise, that they'll have that MBA in their back pocket. I think that leveraging your network is so important. And that's why, so many of our programs still have at least that initial residency requirement. Because when you can be in front of your classmates, your peers, these are all individuals that know who are hiring, right? They might not be hiring themselves, but they know who the hiring managers are. So being able to leverage your network is really an important thing. And that's, I think, what's so invaluable about an MBA, and I think that having a group of peers that all have 5 to 10 years of professional experience, that you can kind of pick their brains about, what they do. You have your career coaches, as we kind of already talked about, the career curriculum, but all of that really is just to add to maybe not only your skill set, but also broadening your network for those future opportunities.
Right. Now, Sarah, Kara, and Naz used that magical word several times, networking. And what I want to ask is how networking happens when you're not necessarily shoulder to shoulder, day to day in classes, bumping into each other in hall rooms, sharing, a table at lunchtime, going to a bar at night to have a beer. A lot of people who consider online MBA programs wonder, what will I sacrifice by doing my education online? Will I sacrifice the friendships, the bonding, the involvement in clubs, the networking opportunities long-term? So give us a sense for how this all fits together and how the student experience online plays out.
Sure. So we actually have heard from many of our students on many occasions. I've made deeper connections in my online MBA than I even made in my undergraduate in residence experience, wherever they went. And we hear that so many times that, it does make you reflect. It's like, well, but how is that possible? Everything that you just mentioned about the bumping into each other in the hallways and going out for a beer after class and all of those things happens at our in-residence experiences. So at the beginning, and Kelley on campus and Kelley on location. So that's one of the beauties of our program, is that we do incorporate those components, as well as, of course, when our students do global and domestic immersion trips together, they get to know each other in person. But the online component of this is really the critical factor, right? They spend most of their program in the online space. So what we offer within Kelley Direct is not only similar to what the other programs have, which is we have, of course, career coaching and networking evenings and things like that. We have a student leadership association that is really robust, student-led organizations that are affinity group specific. And it may be affinity group by industry. So we have a finance association. It may be affinity group by kind of demographic criterion. We have a women in business and their allies group. We have a military association. So we have, and then of course, other industry specific groups. So we have opportunities for students to get together, and sometimes they're getting together just to commiserate about a difficult course that they're all slogging through accounting together, and they just, they need to make it through. And you just got to sit down and have a glass of wine together and talk about that. We have some of those sessions where folks can just do that online. But there also are times that we're bringing in professional development speakers. So these associations are finding speakers from industry. They're bringing in alumni from the Kelley School, not just the Kelley Direct MBA, but from our full-time MBA, from other Kelley School programs, our undergraduate programs alumni. Our alumni base is huge. It's one of the largest business school alumni bases in the world at 123,000 just from our business school. And so we really capitalize on that. We're like, you know what, we have all these amazing alumni. We're going to bring in as many potential speakers or judges in our case competitions as we can, along with any of our other opportunities for networking. Like I was saying, the networking nights. We have a Global Connect night where that's actually where folks get together in their city. So that's a geographic based in-person experience that is hosted by our Student Leadership Association, but it brings together in over 40 cities around the globe. We do that, we try to do that when not in COVID. We try to do that in person together about twice a year, April and then again in the fall. And folks can get together at a bar. We pay for the food, they get together and just, hang out with other Kelley School Business alums and current students in their city. So we do try to make sure that we're offering both a combination of face-to-face experiences through our in-residences and our Global Connect Night, as well as all of those virtual opportunities to network. As truly making connections is one of our biggest pushes in our program. That's one of our biggest value propositions. We really hammer that home, that when you come to this program, you're choosing it because you want to get connected and you're kind of dedicated to being there and in the program and engaged in networking with other people. This is not a sit and get type experience.
Having met and interviewed hundreds of online MBA students over the years, I think one of my biggest surprises is how well they bond together. And I wonder if it's because they are online, they actually make a bigger effort to do so. Dalip, did you see that with your first cohort that you just graduated?
Oh yeah, I think, so I went to the reception we had organized, and there were only a handful of, we only graduated 7 people, but I talked to them, and they were so happy about their experience in the program and the network they have created. Well, I think when students join MBA and they know that they need to create a network, we only provide them the opportunity to connect. Right? So the more people we give them an opportunity to connect, the bigger their network becomes. Okay? And some of it is up to them, how strong they can make that network, right? You can talk to that person once, you can talk to that person 5 times, you can meet somewhere if you can. So it is an important part. I think it can be done very easily. We provide them a lot of opportunities, and students are taking advantage of this. I think before pandemic, there was a lot of doubt about how online things work. But I think in the last 2 years, we have all learned that life can go on as well in the online world as it is going.
Right here. Now, Dalip, if I were able to speak to your some of your recent alums and ask them what the highlights of the program for them were, what do you think they would tell me?
I think in the highlight, they would talk about starting with the quality of the instructions, the quality of the support we provide, the flexibility we provide, and the selection of coursework. Which is expanding, day by day. Okay. We also have this huge alumni base, 400,000 Purdue alumni, 40,000 Krannert alumni, and they can connect to those people. Okay. So I think those would be the highlights, and the wonderful staff. I think the advantage of a young program also is that at least last year, 70% of our classes were 50 students or less. Okay. I think that gives them a much greater opportunity to connect to each other. We have limited our class size to 80. So some of our core courses can go to 80. The other surprising thing we found was that even though we are very STEM focused and 50% of our students are coming with a STEM background, they want to then develop into leadership. So some of the most popular courses were change management and leadership. So those things are also available to them. Yeah, even though their background is all from, not all, but 50% are coming from the STEM background.
Right. Kara, what would be the big takeaways that your students would tell me about?
I would say the flexibility, certainly the connections, the rigor. I think along with the rigor comes the reward. Certainly, like you said, taking classes together, trying to get through a lot of difficult classes, but really being able to celebrate each other's wins, especially at graduation. And then certainly the summits. Again, students act like they've known each other for years, and they may have only just taken a couple classes together by the time they meet face to face. But I would say the summits are a big piece of that.
And you're allowed to take 2 summits a year, I believe.
You have to take 2 before you graduate, so you can take them at any point in time.
Right. And you can take additional ones at extra cost, I believe, right?
Correct.
Okay, good. Naz, what do you say? What do you think the big highlights are for your graduates?
Yeah, beyond the connections, the network, the world-class faculty, I think really just the opportunity to be involved not only in their classes, but of course, our global immersion experiences, being able to come to campus for our professional development opportunities, going up actually to Washington, DC for our business policy course. So there are so many opportunities to make the best out of your MBA experience. And we have a full portfolio of offerings to encourage our students to engage above and beyond just the classroom. So, and then of course, last but not least, who doesn't want to be a Gator, John?
And even though you're 100% asynchronous, you can add synchronous elements, as you just pointed out, with the global immersion or the Washington experience. There you go. Sarah, the big takeaways for Kelley grads out of the online MBA program.
Sure. So number one, they're going to say each other that every time we ask, what was so great about this experience? Everyone I did it with. So I would just, shout out that we're really pleased with everybody that we bring into the program, but they do make the most of it. They enjoy their time together. They push each other. They support each other. So going into the experience, feeling dedicated to being a good kind of student with the other students is really, it's a good way to go into an MBA program. The other thing that I think they're going to say about Kelley Direct is that we really help to make them look good in their careers. Our students are getting promoted while they're in the program. They're getting promoted very shortly after. They are pivoting into other careers, but many of our students are enjoying moving on in their companies, moving up in their companies, moving into C-suite positions while they're in the MBA. I think oftentimes they think, oh, I'm gonna have to, that's why I'm doing the MBA, and it'll come after, and then it comes sooner than they thought. And then they're like, oh my gosh, I'm now balancing, both my MBA and figuring out how to now take on this new responsibility at work. But they make it work. But our program helps to make them look good. It prepares them for what they need to do. It prepares them for moving into the C-suite. And all the pieces that go into the program are what prepare them for that, right? The faculty, the networking, the fellow students, all of that the MBA structure gets them ready for where they need to go next.
I'll tell you, all four of you are making me want to enroll in an online MBA right now. So our time is out, but I just want to say what a privilege it's been to have all four of you here talking about these experiences and finding the right fit and what your online MBA programs offer people who are interested in getting this education. I also want to just finish off by, maybe each of you could tell very briefly how students can get in touch with you if they're interested in the program. Of course, the first stop should be go to the website, read everything you can. In many cases, there'll be access to webinars and Zoom sessions that have occurred before that are recorded to get even a deeper dive into each of the programs. But how would one reach Sarah at Kelley?
Yes, certainly. So you can email kdirect@iu.edu. That's our general email address, and that will get you to either me, if you ask for me specifically, or if you just have interest in the program, we will set you up either with a one-on-one consultation, or we offer small group info sessions. So lots of opportunities to connect.
Now, Dalip, do you talk to incoming applicants, students, or not?
I'm happy to talk. Okay, I don't usually talk, but I'm happy to talk. So if somebody asks for me, I will talk to the person. So our general email is admissionsmail@purdue.edu. But ask for Dilip, and I will get on an email or a Zoom call with you.
Super. Kara?
I feel like I have the longest email address in the world, but it's Kara. It's Kara_Adams@Kenan-Flagler.unc.edu. But you can find that on our website. And then, of course, as you mentioned, we have lots of webinars, info sessions. Always happy to have a phone consult. Again, we have a lot of different programs, not just our online format. So it's really important that we help you choose.
Right, exactly.
It's going to be
And
great.
Naz?
You want my cell phone number? No.
No.
But
You'll
seriously,
regret
call,
that.
Call me or email me, naz@warrington.ufl.edu. I'm absolutely happy to talk about our full portfolio of MBA options. You know, my team and I, we are here to make this process an easy and seamless one. And today is all about talking about fit. We want to make sure you choose a program that fits best for you. So give me a call, shoot me an email. I'm happy to assist in any way I can.
Yeah, and talking to admissions people and asking the right questions are going to help you determine whether the fit is right. And each of these folks here could also, connect you with current students or recent alums who can talk very much about the experience from having lived it, having experienced it. So Naz, Sarah, Dalip, and Kara, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I think we put a lot of great information out there into the marketplace. And I hope all of you have enjoyed the session as well. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.